Jeremy Reed, also known as Powder, is a young albino with a mind that moves faster than anyone around him and abilities that defy explanation, able to sense the thoughts and emotions of people nearby as if they are broadcasting on invisible waves only he can pick up. His brain hums with a powerful electromagnetic charge, a force that makes every electrical object near him flicker, spark, or behave unpredictably, especially when he feels strong emotions like fear, anger, or excitement. And the same charge keeps hair from ever growing on his body. His life begins with tragedy. His mother is struck by lightning while pregnant with him, dying shortly after the accident. And though Jeremy survives, his father, unable to face a son so marked by misfortune and difference, abandons him.
That's not my son.
He grows up under the care of his grandparents, living mostly in the basement of their modest farmhouse, isolated from the world, learning everything he knows from books, his mind sharp but his social skills untested, shaped by silence, study, and the vast fields around him. He spends his days tending to chores on the farm, never stepping beyond the boundaries of the property. The outside world, something he only reads about and imagines in his mind. His quiet, structured existence shatters when his grandfather dies of natural causes, leaving him alone and vulnerable. Child Services psychologist Jessie Caldwell arrives, a professional faced with the impossible task of understanding a boy unlike any she has met.
You know the whole book?
And takes him from the home that has been his entire world to a boy's home, making him a ward of the state, thrust into a reality filled with rules, strangers, and challenges far beyond anything he has ever faced, forcing him to navigate a life where his gifts are as much a curse as they are a power. Jessie enrolls Jeremy in high school, a place that promises normalcy, but delivers anything but. From the moment he steps into the hallways, he is an anomaly, his pale skin and unblinking eyes drawing stares and whispers. It is here that he meets Donald Ripley, a physics teacher with a curiosity matched only by his intellect. Ripley quickly realizes that Jeremy is not just a genius. His mind operates on a plane far beyond comprehension. He tests Jeremy, observing the strange electromagnetic anomalies that seem to ripple from him, and soon comes to understand that Jeremy possesses supernatural powers alongside a record-breaking IQ, a combination that marks him as extraordinary, but also painfully alone. While Ripley's fascination borders on awe, the other students cannot see beyond the boy who makes machines misfire, lights flicker, and their heads ache when he is nearby. Jeremy becomes the invisible line between brilliance and fear, admired by some, but shunned by most. The tension of being an outcast escalates on a school hunting trip, where Jeremy is confronted by John Box, an aggressive and violent student who sees Jeremy's differences as weakness.
What the hell are you doing out this far?
As an opportunity to assert dominance, John raises a gun, aiming directly at him, the weapon, trembling in his hands as the other students watch in horrified silence. Before the trigger can be pulled, a shot rings from a distance. A gun fired not at Jeremy but at a deer. Harley Duncan, a local sheriff's deputy, has taken aim and brought down a doe. The scene is gruesome. The animal staggers, terrified, aware of its own mortality, and Jeremy reacts instinctively. Reaching out, he touches both Harley and the dying deer simultaneously, an invisible current of empathy and power flowing from him to the deputy.
Guys, wait, do something! Say something!
Harley collapses in convulsions, and the students scream, believing he is having a seizure, while Jeremy's face remains stoic, horrified by the unintended consequences of his own gift. Later, Harley explains the truth. Jeremy did not harm him, but transmitted the pain and fear of the dying deer directly into his body, forcing him to feel the animal's final moments. The experience changes Harley forever. He removes every gun from his home, the empathy leaving a permanent mark on his conscience.
I just can't do it anymore.
Though Sheriff Doug Barnum allows him to keep his role as a deputy, now forever bound to his duty without the comfort of a weapon. Through it all, Jeremy learns the cruel truth of his power. To feel everything is to be isolated, admired, feared, and never truly understood. Meanwhile, Sheriff Doug Barnum comes to Jeremy with a desperate request, a plea that carries the weight of a man who has spent years silently bearing his guilt. His wife is dying, clinging stubbornly to life in a hospital bed, and Doug believes that only Jeremy can reach her mind, to bridge the gap between the living and the nearly gone. Sitting beside the hospital room, Jeremy focuses, letting his extraordinary mind stretch into the unseen space between consciousnesses. Slowly, he taps into her thoughts, not as an intruder, but as a conduit. Through Jeremy, Doug hears her voice, fragile and urgent, confessing the reason she refuses to let go. She fears leaving this world without her wedding ring on her finger, without seeing Doug reconcile with their estranged son, Stephen, and she clings to life until these threads are mended. As the revelation settles, Doug reaches for the silver box that has sat untouched on her nightstand. Inside lies the ring, glinting quietly, waiting for this moment. With trembling hands, he slides it back onto her finger. And then he does what he has avoided for far too long. He speaks to Stephen, letting the long pent-up regrets spill out, seeking forgiveness and restoring a connection that had been broken. Only then does his wife's breathing ease, her face softening in peaceful surrender as she passes, comforted by the closure Jeremy helped orchestrate and by the restoration of her family. Amid these trials, Jeremy finds a rare spark of connection in Lindsay Kellaway, a young woman whose curiosity and openness draw him in. Their relationship, brief but intense, feels like a reprieve from the isolation his powers often force upon him. Lindsay listens as Jeremy speaks of what he sees in people, of the hidden currents that ripple through every mind and soul.
What are people like on the inside?
He tells her he sees the truth, that everyone carries fear, that everyone feels disconnected at times, but that these fears are illusions, that every individual is part of the same vast web of life, connected to each other and to everything that exists. For a moment, Lindsay seems to understand, to accept the depth of his perception and the isolation it brings. Yet, the fragile bond is torn apart by the rigid hand of her father, a barrier Jeremy cannot overcome, leaving him to walk away from a connection that might have been
Bloody man, huh?
the lesson lingering that even extraordinary minds are not immune to the constraints and judgments of the ordinary world. Jeremy returns to the juvenile facility, methodical and quiet, packing his few belongings with the plan to escape back to the safety of his grandparents' farm. As he moves through the gym, his attention lingers for a moment on a male student washing after practice, and he can't help but notice the contrast. Luxurious hair on the boy's head and a body covered in hair, something Jeremy will never have. His gaze is noticed by John Box, who immediately hurls accusations of homosexuality, a sneer in his voice that echoes years of cruelty Jeremy has endured.
Why don't you take a picture, man?
John snatches Jeremy's hat and begins to taunt him, words sharpened by past trauma, unaware that each insult digs into old scars. Jeremy finally speaks up, revealing that John's words echo what his stepfather said before beating him at 12, and the confession ignites a dangerous fury in John.
You think you're man enough to get it back and take your best shot, tough stuff?
The taunting escalates as John and the other boys humiliate Jeremy, stripping him naked and jeering. Suddenly, Jeremy's powers begin to surge uncontrollably. Metal buttons, zippers, piercings, all tug and twist as his electromagnetic energy lashes out, bending and pulling anything conductive near him. The pressure builds, culminating in a massive spherical pulse of energy that throws Jeremy into a muddy puddle and sends the other boys sprawling across the gym floor. John lies still, his heart stopped, and for a tense moment Jeremy freezes, feeling the weight of responsibility and fear. Summoning the depth of his abilities, he channels a precise electric shock into John, and slowly the boy's body convulses and breath returns, leaving Jeremy soaked, trembling, and more aware than ever of the destructive and salvaging power that resides within him.
Go get help, you idiot!
Jeremy returns to the farm where he grew up, now empty and claimed by the bank in probate, every possession he once owned gone. Jesse, Donald, and Doug arrive, urging him to come with them, to leave behind the fear and misunderstanding that have shadowed his life, promising a place where he can belong. But Jeremy cannot hear them. He sprints into the open fields, his mind and body pulsing with the energy that has always set him apart. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning crashes from the sky, striking him with raw, blinding force, and he vanishes in a flash of white light so bright it sears the eyes of those who watch. Jesse, Donald, Doug, and Harley are thrown back, their bodies jolted by the residual charge, hearts racing as the field falls silent, leaving only the echo of what just happened, and the terrifying realization that Jeremy's power has grown beyond anyone's comprehension. And that ends Jeremy's story in a world that struggles to understand him. Like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to follow more stories like this.